Live from the City of Angels, Sunday morning, midnight movie money. Let's start with Avatar. It is your winner again this weekend. We're now into January. Things start to slow down, right? Kids back in school, everyone's back to work. So you look at Avatar here, number one, 21.3 million, down roughly 50% from last weekend. The key takeaway here on this film, and you're not going to get this from virtually anyone else because they're not paying attention or they don't want to acknowledge this very clear fact. We are nearly $500 million lower on Avatar 3 versus Avatar 2 at the same point in the sales cycle, release cycle. So you look here at $1.23 billion on Avatar 3 right now after 4 weekends. And I go to the email from back in 2023, the beginning of 2023, the 4th weekend of Avatar 2, Way of Water, 1.7. So we're talking minus $480 million on the global cash. Now, there's 2 ways to approach this, right? Obviously, still profitable because you're looking at a $400 million film that once it hits $1 billion should be starting to make money for Walt Disney Corporation. But when you look at this as a success or failure in comparison to 2, guys, we are talking minus $500 million. Now, I told you, did I not tell you guys weeks ahead, months ahead, that Avatar 3 would not do the numbers of Avatar 2? And now I have people telling me, we all thought that. No, you didn't. You all thought it was going to get to $2 billion. I said, no, it's not. People are tired of the Blue Viewmaster bullshit. I know I am. I haven't seen it. I have no interest in seeing it. And Disney is pressing. They are still shoving ads out there. I've got to see this again. Listen, Disney, I got news for you. Most people haven't seen it the first time. Okay, if you take away the overseas cash, this thing is not even doing stellar numbers here in the States because, again, people, I mean, listen, yes, it's in the hundreds of millions. Was it 300 plus million? But the point is that there is less interest. So here's the advice, right? Very simple. If you want to make another Avatar, you've got to be very cognizant of the fact that people are tired of this shit. And yes, maybe you get to a profit again, but it's time for Cameron to move on. Okay, I was right. And whoever that clown was who decided he wanted to come after me, the Weber man, the gold standard is that for a reason. I called it. Here it is right in front of you. Do not argue these facts. Okay. I put it out in front of you. It was very objective about what I just said. It's making money, but it's nowhere near as big as the second film and certainly not the first film. So there you go. A win for MMT. Again, it just, guys, honestly, it gets kind of old when you are always on the right side of history. Because when you're objective, you're fearless, you have a fair measure of talent, then you can do these things and call these things and not be afraid to throw these predictions, prognostications out there and not run from them because we're on the right side of history. Primate is your number 2 movie, 11.3 million. Decent debut. I like this film for its goriness, right? It goes Terrifier-esque in at least one of the kills. But look, this is a $20 million film. So profitability for this will not come to roughly $50 million. And I think the worldwide debut was only 13. So this won't be as easily profitable as some of these horror films that carry a smaller budget. So that's something to keep in mind here as you look at Primate as a success or a failure. We'll see what happens over the long haul. But you guys know that with horror films, they typically drop big in that second weekend. Housemaid, you talk about holding in there and still putting up numbers. Look here, this is now up to $94 million on the stateside alone. Well over 150 million on the global. Haven't had the update yet. Might be at 200 million or close to it. So this started at only 19 on the debut. And then, of course, Christmas Corridor. And now still only down 26% this weekend. So this is a testament to leaving movies in theaters with no at-home option, and women are still flocking to see this, right? Popular book. And I said I wasn't that impressed with the debut. But what did I say during that same stream? Go back and find it. It's there for you. I said this film will do an insane multiple because not that many people came out to see it opening weekend. Therefore, it has a lot of available audience. We talk about how when you have a massive debut, you suck a lot of that available audience out that first weekend. When the debut's lower, you still have plenty of people on the sidelines who are now going to come in and say, hey, you know what? I'm looking for something to do on a Saturday night with me and my girlfriends. Let's go see Housemaid. I don't hate the film. I was entertained by the film. The end is out of control and definitely too much. But overall, look, this thing is going to be massively profitable for Lionsgate and Hidden Pictures. So kudos for them for getting this. And Sydney Sweeney obviously is back on track when it comes to box office. I mean, really a lot of what happened with her speaks to the fact that those films were, no one wanted to watch them, right? Americana. I mean, you talk about that film, who wants to watch that? It's a bad film, right? And then you look at Eden, and what was the other one in there that we watched that was really terrible? She's had like just a bunch of them right in a row. And now this is where she belongs. Now, listen, we still have plenty of issues with her as an actress. Okay, she's just flat, right? She's flat on screen, only on screen. Okay, let's just leave it there. But we just want to see a little more. But listen, we talked about this on our Housemaid reaction. Go back and look at the reaction stream on Midnight Movie Talk on YouTube. Listen, you look at her and you ask her to do more. You say, hey, Sydney, I need you to crank the wattage. I need you to level up. I need you to modulate higher. We discuss these things all the time on the evaluations. She doesn't have it, right? You can't ask somebody who doesn't have a personality to suddenly have a personality. You can't ask me to tone it down when I just don't know how to do that. I'm not going to do that. This is what I do, okay? I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be fearless. I'm going to be relentless, and I'm going to be opinionated. It's what I do, okay? So when you look at Sydney Sweeney, she just has very little room to escalate when it comes to what she brings on the screen. Not in person, on screen. Zootopia 2, $10.1 million is your number 4 film, still at $1.6 billion. And you look at China has almost half of the international cash, if not more. So China was such a huge part of this, but also Zootopia, when you look at this film, you're talking about a film that was a big beneficiary of that Christmas corridor. Also, no at-home option. Disney's very good about those longer windows, typically 3 months. And that's what we need. We've got to get back to that, especially before Netflix comes in and grabs Warner Brothers. Looks like it's going to happen. And I don't want to get into it. It's the worst thing that could possibly occur. And when you have that, you need to establish that we have at least a 45-day window so that when Netflix tries to pull that shit, you already have it done. I think at this point, it's fair to say that Adam Aaron is in the pocket of the studios. I cannot believe this man has not approached them and said, listen, here's the deal. Line in the sand, 45-day window, end of discussion. I would have done it 3 years ago. We had this discussion 3 years ago. So why are we still here in 2026? And I'm still talking about his inability. And why am I going after Adam Aaron versus Regal Cinemark? Because they hold the lion's share of the market. We did that, $2 billion in the States. They're the number one by far chain. If they make it happen, the others will follow suit. You're the leader, right, of the free world when it comes to cinemas. You've got to take advantage of that and get it done. It still hasn't gotten done. It's amazing to me that a man who makes $10+ million a year isn't able to get that done. I can promise you, and I trust me when I say this, it would happen. If you bring me in tomorrow, I will have windows installed by Friday because I'm going to draw a line in the sand. It's 45 days, end of discussion. You don't like it, get the fuck out of here. It's that simple. You don't play games. You don't give them options. You know, the world that we live in is largely because we have allowed things to persist when you instead should have drawn a line and said, this is where we're going to stop and you're going to pay a price. You look at all the crime throughout the world. Well, let's do that for a second. If you had stricter penalties, you go over and you look at what's happening in some of the Middle Eastern countries. One of the reasons they don't have the crime is because if you do the crime, you're going to get a savage punishment. And listen, if you're found guilty, I'm all for it. We've got to curtail this shit. So back to Windows, the same approach. When you draw a hard line, when you say, here's the deal, we are not negotiating, we're doing 45 fucking days, then that's what happens. You see, this is the issue. We just have a mamby-pamby, weak-ass mentality when it comes to dealing with this stuff. You got to get back to a very aggressive approach. And when you talk about a Windows, let's leave crime out of it for a minute. Go back to Windows. It's got to be aggressive. It hasn't been done. And again, 10 million plus. You got to be kidding me, dude. I will take 1/10 of that. I mean, shit, I'd do it for less than that. And I'll get Windows done within a week. Within a week. Because there'd be no negotiation. Wouldn't be going back and forth. I would love to roll up on Sarandos. I'd love having him come in. Listen, I don't care who you are, Ted Sarandos. I don't give a fuck. We're doing Windows. So you could be everyone kisses your ass in this town. I got news for you. I'm not going to do that. So you need to go ahead and get these Windows that I'm giving to you installed because you're not going to call the shot here. Are we clear? Good. I'm glad we're clear because I'm not going to play this game with you. And then it's over. I don't know what else to say. Let's go to Marty Supreme. I'm going to skip Greenland. I'll come back to it. Let's just do Greenland. I actually skipped it. Let's do it quickly. Greenland, only 8.5 million. That's not great. Okay. When you look at Greenland 2, you're talking about a film in the first that was successful at home. It was that VOD during COVID. A lot of people at home watching that. It didn't do the numbers. Number 2. I like 2 better than 1. I mean, listen, I don't think it's great. I think it's passable. We're in January. I've seen 3 decent films. The best of them is The Plague. What a film. You got to check that film, IFC. It's psychological horror / thriller. Really good stuff. But when you look at this, it should be higher than 8.5. So this is a disappointment for sure for Lionsgate. We'll see what happens on the long haul. And again, there's still that at home. At the end of the day, there is money to be made when you bring these things home. I can't argue that. But this is a theatrical channel. We're not talking about what happens on streaming. Marty Supreme is number 6. The reason I bring it up is now A24's second biggest film of all time, behind Everything Everywhere All at Once. It takes Civil War out. Civil War stopped at 68 million stateside. And you look at this now at 70 million plus. Marty Supreme will end up being their number 1 film ever. And I had that also called. I said this film will be one of their biggest, okay? Without question, way up there. I mean, you knew it. I mean, at this point, though, remember, it's a $70 million film. So even though we talk about this being the second biggest A24 film, when you're talking about $70 million budget, you're talking about $160 or so million or more on the total number you need to gross for it to be profitable. So, we talk about success of Marty Supreme. And it is extremely encouraging to see a film like that make $70 million here in the United States. But it still is, the budget was just too high. I mean, you got to be able to find a way to make this movie for less than that. And I think that's the takeaway, is that it's not just about the numbers. You have to gauge it against the budget. Again, back to Avatar off the top, $400 million. So the break even is at least $1 billion. It is over that. So it's making money. But again, listen, like I said, back to Avatar quickly. When you make a 4, if you decide to, you got to remember, you're seeing these drop-offs. You're minus 500 million versus 2. So why are you making another one? It's not worth it. It's not worth all of the trouble. And it's not worth us losing another James Cameron film to Blue Pocahontas Viewmaster bullshit. It's just not. And I just don't want it to happen. Listen, and if you want to go watch the Avatar channels, that's what they care about, and it really says a lot about them. It tells me that they eat Domino's pizza, go to McDonald's, and wash it back with a natural light. And let me tell you something. I actually like natural light, but they have very basic tastes, okay? They're not elevated. They're the kind of people that have a room temperature IQ. And listen, it is what it is. Okay, I've said this a billion times. The average person's not very smart. I've said it. Sorry, Weber's attacking people again. You need to understand that. If you go through life thinking the average person has a very high intelligence and is really thinking about stuff and really wants to be challenged, you're dead wrong. The average person just wants to just sit there on the couch and watch Avatar and zone out and not be challenged by a new story. The same thing regurgitated over and over. Let's do the top 10 here. I got to do it from deadline because I still don't have the email from ComScore. Let me make it a little larger so you guys see it. Avatar is number one, as I mentioned, $21.3 million. The big takeaway, though, minus roughly $500 million. Call it $480 million minus in the whole globally versus Avatar 2. You can't pretend that you're going to pretend that's not a big deal, are you? But you know what? This is what our Avatar weirdos will do. They'll say, "But look, it still made $1 billion too." That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying it's minus 5. Don't do that. Don't move the goalposts. Okay, don't do it. Say Weber's the man. Say Weber's the gold standard, and move on. Like, just go on. You're wasting my time and your time by even trying to attack it. Just go, away and just admit that the gold standard's right again. Primate, number 2, $11.3 million. Housemaid, 3, with now $94+ million on the global, on the domestic. The global's closer to 200. So that is such a profitable film. I mean, good Lord. You talk about one of the biggest money makers when it comes to profit. Housemaid. It's why they're going to make a Housemaid 2. Did they write a Housemaid 2 book? I imagine they did because the first one was successful, right? Anytime you have something successful, got to make a sequel. Do you? Well, if you try to make money, right? And that's pretty much what everyone wants to do in this world. They just want to make money. They don't care about necessarily, is it the right thing? How can I make money? You just look at all the streamers out there. Look at all the film people. How can I make money? I'll say this is good. I'll griff this. I'll shill this, right? I have no interest, okay? All I want's a new football kit and to play some beach volleyball, which I'm going to do here in a little bit. It's beautiful here in Southern California. Finally, the rain's gone. Zootopia is number 4, and Greenland 2 is number 5. Let's finish out top 10. Marty Supreme, number 6. Anaconda, 7. That is now at $100 million worldwide. You talk about a little bit of an issue with that. You really want to see that film higher. $100 million for a Jack Black film worldwide. You look at Minecraft. Now, granted, I understand that was the IP, but still, you got Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Anaconda remake of the 90s film, Goofball, that kind of thing. You really want to see it higher than 100. So that's definitely concerning. And I think as we go into 2026, it's going to be a year that I think we're in trouble. I've said it before, and I've said it again. I just think that movie theaters, this past Christmas quarter might be the last really great stanza. Now, I know you're going to say Avengers Endgame. It's a year from now, essentially. So you can't be waiting around a year. It's just you can feel it. You can just feel that movie theaters are just draining by the dare I say, hour. SpongeBob is number 8. Number 9 is David is $75 million. Talk about profitable for Angel Studios. It's one of their biggest hits behind Sound of Freedom. And Song Sung Blue. I finally said it right because I read it. I'm not trying to just think of it. I read it. And that film is doing okay, and the film's okay. It just goes on way too long. And there were some really funny moments in that. When you see, if you haven't seen Sung Sung Blue, when the event occurs with Kate Hudson, I want you to watch the oneer. It's one of the goofiest things I've ever seen. Sometimes as a director, it's best not to try a oneer if you're going to do some kind of literally stunt shit that just looks goofy. It just looks so bad. I remember laughing out loud when I saw that scene. Right, we pan from inside to the outside, and she's doing her gardening. Holy shit. All right, guys, that's going to do it here for our Midnight Movie Money here on this Sunday morning. I'll be back tonight. We got a live Golden Globes post-game show. We'll do that about 8 o'clock. Whenever it comes just to the end of that show, I'll fire up live on X and on YouTube, and we'll do it live. We'll talk about it. Listen, I expect a big night for One Battle and Sinners. I think we can clearly see that after all of the other awards that we have seen go out so far this year, from critics groups to Critics' Choice. You look at those two films will be the big-time winners, and then some of the smaller battles, can Chalamet win again? We'll find out tonight, and we'll discuss it tonight on MMT. Thanks for being here, and if I missed a comment, I will get to it, I promise, and I will look at it as I roll down to Orange County to play some volleyball here today. Thanks. Enjoy your day. I'll see you back here tonight for the live postgame show.